she was incredible. I mean, half the things she says in the film, like I didn't write, she improvs.
Wow.
You never know what's going to come out of her mouth, and when it does, it's very hard to not laugh out loud.
So I'm thrilled to welcome writer, director and producer Todd Stevens, talking about his excellent new film Swan Song. Todd, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
I'm great. It's great to be in London. Yeah, I love it here.
Congratulations on Swan Song. I saw it at South by Southwest last year. I've got to say it's one of my favourite films of the festival.
Thank you. Thank you.
In your own words, how would you sum up the narrative of the film?
It's about sort of a formerly flamboyant hairdresser that escapes from his nursing home and takes a long walk across actually my hometown, a small town in America, to style a dead woman's hair for her funeral. So that's basically the elevator pitch.
It's a great plot. I mean, that alone, I think, would entice a lot of people to see it, because it's kind of, well, I was going to say it's dark, but it's not, because there's obviously a lot of funny moments in there. I have to say, though, Udo Kier, who you've cast as Pat, a perfect choice of protagonist. And I was looking at his Wikipedia page, and he seems to be the busiest actor going. He's done like 3 movies a year for, what, 50 years or something? It's crazy.
I know, yeah. I think he's done over like 250 films. Yeah, and I remember seeing him in like the Andy Warhol movies, Dracula and Frankenstein, and My Own Private Idaho is a big, huge film for me. But yeah, I mean, it was like, I wasn't sure about, it was like taking a little bit of a chance because he usually plays a villain.
Yeah.
And in smaller parts. And, but when I met him, I knew that he was Pat, and we had become really good friends by the time we shot the movie. So I think that helped a lot.
The term legendary does get, passed around quite freely nowadays, but I think you could certainly, class him as legendary, an icon.
Absolutely.
And, like I say, one of the hardest workers. But you're right, though, because, I mean, he's one of the stars of the 70s horror film Suspiria, which I completely forgot about after seeing this film, because obviously it's a very different character. I did forget about that. Was it always your intention to have him as the main star?
It wasn't my original intention, to be honest. But my casting director suggested Udo. She had met him at the Berlin Film Festival, and she's like, "Oh my God, I just met Pat." And I said, "Who?" And she said, "Udo Kier." And I'm like, "What? Like the German villain guy, And but I went to meet him, and we really hit it off. And part of the thing was that it was important. It took a long time to cast the part. It was really difficult to find the right balance of, somebody could have humor but not be over the top, and because it's a very flamboyant part and could have easily gone the wrong way, like overdone. But over time, it became important for me to have. I really felt like I needed a queer actor to play this queer part, and just somebody who had lived the life and that lost people to AIDS and been through the club scene and knew how to dance.
That's the most important thing of all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I think you're right there, because I think it feels more genuine. It feels like a more genuine performance.
Yeah,
and I think you believe that more, because I totally believed his role. Was he also involved in the costumes? Because I mean, there's some great outfits. The lime green outfit, very Dynasty, obviously, with Linda Evans starring as well. It seemed fitting to have a
he definitely collaborated with us on the costumes, and that was hard to find that green suit. He wears like a really fabulous. We actually got the suit, I think, in London. We couldn't find one anywhere in America, and they got it on eBay or something like that.
Amazing.
And we just said to Udo, like, do not fall down, because we only have one. So you can't rip it or anything like that. But yeah, it survived. It survived.
That must have been a big pressure for you to, like, be so careful about that outfit, because obviously that's one of the star pieces. You could say that's a starring role as well, in its own right.
Totally. Yeah. We had to be really careful. That's the thing about low budget film. It's a pretty low budget, beg, borrow, and steal kind of film. And originally, my costume director Kitty Boots had like sketched up like what the suit would be, and we were going to have it constructed, but we just didn't have the money, and also there's something about real vintage stuff, like from the day, that just has a spirit in it or a texture to it that, like, you can't really recreate. So I think that really like comes through and, you know, on the film.
One of the reasons why I love this film so much is because it feels like a film with a big heart. Obviously, there's a lot of drama, there's a lot of comedy, but you seem to get that balance right. Was that quite difficult for you to get that balance right? Did you know one way or the other which way it was likely to go, or did you want that balance?
I wanted that balance. And I think that when I started making films, I never thought that I was funny or had like a funny side, but like little funny things would come through in my earlier like dramedy films. And I don't know, it's just the thing. I love that mixture of like happy and sad sort of at the same time almost. And but I wanted that. I wanted that kind of vibe. I mean, there were things that I remember, there were certain producers and stuff that were going to get involved, and they said things like, I mean, spoiler alert, like he puts like a chandelier on his head at one point, right?
It's a great moment.
And they were like, you got to cut that out. That's just way over the top, you know, it's ridiculous. And but somehow we made it work. And a big part of that was Udo, you know, it was just finding the right actor to do it just the right way. And he just kind of came out and modeled it, you know, and it's just so perfect. Like, I'm so proud that I stuck to my guns on stuff like that.
Yeah, he looked amazing. And obviously another part of that was Robin's Dancing on My Own, which, you know, is brilliant, because I'd like to think that this film would reach a younger audience and introduce them to Udo Kier, because obviously he's got that vast, you know, a selection of films that he's done in his life growing up as well, and now at his age for audiences to see him and to be introduced to him, I think is great, with Robin's help, I guess.
With Robin's help. And that song, the rights to that song cleared the day before we shot that scene.
Wow.
So I wrote a letter to Robin, and it finally got to her, and she, you know, gave us, we still had to pay for it obviously, but just gave us like a really great deal. I think she just seems amazing. And Robin, if you're out there, I want to know what you think of the film. Like, it's like, I've always wanted to show it to her, and it's like, I don't know if she's ever seen it. So
I was going to ask you if she's seen the film, what her reaction was.
Not that I know of. Yeah,
so what was the song that you had in mind before that? Did you have another song in mind, or did you just leave it by chance?
We had also cleared another song that I love, which was "Pull Up to the Bumper" by Grace Jones, which could have been a whole other way to go. Yeah, but the Robin song was my first choice. You know, this was a film that, one of those films that doesn't always work that way, but like everything went the right way for it. Like everything just kind of fell into place naturally. Every single song that I wanted to get cleared in the film, we got. I mean, I've never had that happen before, so I think the spirits were on our side on this one. You know?
Yeah, talk about flying by the seat of your pants, though. Right at the last minute, she plays it.
Yeah,
no
and I have to learn a song so quickly for Udo. But I mean, he had been practicing it a little because we knew it was a possibility. But we had so much fun doing that. That was insane, shooting that scene.
There's a really memorable moment where Pat goes back to one of the bars that he used to go to in the 80s, and he shares his memories with one of the bartenders there. And it's one of the most memorable moments for me, because I've got goosebumps just thinking about it, because I think the younger generation sometimes don't understand who has been there before and gone through similar experiences, but obviously in a different way, and had those memories. Because I think, you know, the older generation is sometimes looked down upon by younger people. Not always, but sometimes. And I don't think they get it. And I think the film kind of puts that across in a really nice way.
That's kind of what I was trying to show. I mean, I'm a teacher. I teach film, and I have a lot of young queer kids that I teach. And, you know, as much as they know about so many things like AIDS crisis and the fact that it wiped out half of a generation of their elders, essentially, like, they just don't really have a comprehension of that. I guess it's just a long time ago now, and life moves on. But I do think that it's important to kind of know your past, you know, to know the people that came before and paved the way. And that was really what the whole film was, an homage to those people that built the queer community, that, you know, I wouldn't be married legally if it wasn't for their sacrifices. So yeah, I was trying to teach the children a little lesson.
Yeah, it definitely worked. And I think Pat's character is quite nostalgic, but the film feels very current as well. It doesn't just feel like a nostalgia trip. That's obviously a big part of it, but I like that, because it does feel like a modern film.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks.
And you've got Jennifer Coolidge, I've got to say, because I love her. And again, you know, she's a huge LGBT icon, much like Linda Evans. What was it like to have her involved?
My God. I mean, same as you, like I've just worshipped her for years. Like had like an obsession. I don't know. I asked her, I'm like, why are all of us queers like obsessed with you? Like, what, you know? And she's like, I don't know. She loves it. Like, she just loves it. And yeah, I've been obsessed with her for years, and she was my first choice for the part. And we couldn't get through her people, you know, because it's a low budget film, so the money offer was like nothing. And finally, I almost gave up, but right at the very end, it was like, let's try one more time. And we finally got through. And like 2 weeks later, she was shooting, you know, and she was incredible. I mean, half the things she says in the film, like I didn't write, she improvs, you know. Wow. You never know what's going to come out of her mouth. And when it does, it's very hard to not laugh out loud, you know, like there's just so many of her best lines. Yeah, I wish I wrote, but she's just is one of those people. All the best way I could say it is like, sometimes they say, don't be careful about meeting your like idols. With her, it's like, I love her so much more that now that I know her and have worked with her. She's the kindest, most amazing person. I adore her. Yeah. And she shows a different shade of herself, you know, in this performance. I think it was a little bit of a stretch for her. To be honest, she was kind of uncomfortable about playing a bad guy, you know, because she'd never really done that before. She's always the person everybody loves. So, but we had fun, you know, I had fun pushing her on that.
Amazing. And she's back with Legally Blonde 3 next year, which is
oh my God.
really exciting.
Yeah. No way.
And what about Linda Evans? I know you haven't got much time, so I'm just got to quickly ask you about Linda Evans.
She came out of retirement to do the film. She hadn't worked in like 25 years because she just is very happy being retired. And it was a small part in the film, but it was a very pivotal role and very important part. And the film just touched her. The story just touched her. She's always been a queer ally going back to the Dynasty days, and when, you know, and Rock Hudson, who was her friend, and all that. And she really, you know, none of these people did it for money, you know. Like, that's the kind of cool thing that you could feel in the film. It's like, no, none of us were doing it for money, but people were either not paid. I mean, most people were paid, but like barely, you know. So everybody's there because they love the project and they love the script and the story. And when that happens in a film, it's like a special energy that happens. And Linda, she donated her per diem back to the productions. I mean, it's like, you know, it wasn't about the money at all. She didn't need the money, but the film spoke to her, it moved her. And I just love her in it so much. I think she's amazing and gutsy, you know. It's like, she's only in it a short time, but in that time, it was like a gutsy role, you know?
Oh yeah, very memorable. I mean, it might be a minor role, but it doesn't matter because you do, you know, kind of remember that after you've seen it. It does stay with you. But that's what you want, isn't it? I guess that's the biggest compliment from, particularly from actors that you admire, for them to behave that way.
Like, you write a script that, you know, touches them, and that's how you get good people. Is it all starts with the script. And yeah, it really spoke to her. It was really fun working with Linda, and Udo adored her. I mean, they just really hit it off. Linda has this like old school work ethic, like that. I think she said Barbara Stanwyck taught her when they were doing Big Valley, about rehearsal and all that. And it's just so funny how like she hadn't acted in so long, but like she's on the set and she just like knew exactly what to do and had great suggestions. And I guess sometimes those things just like, it's like riding a bike. It just doesn't go away. She's so great. I wish she would work more, you know?
Well, listen, Todd, thank you so much for your time. Good luck with the UK release here, because I know it's been out in the States for a few months, hasn't it? It came out last year.
Yeah.
And continued success, hopefully, going your way as well. What's next for you? Have you got any projects you can talk about?
I've always wanted to do a story called Flamingos, a TV show called Flamingos, which is about a gay retirement home in Florida. So that's what I'm working on now.
I love the sound of that. I'll be there. I'll be watching and spreading the word. Thanks so much for your time, Todd, and all the best with Swan Song.
Okay.